This episode of the Creep Street Podcast is brought to you by Martini Coffee Roasters. You know, people always look at me weird when I say I start off every morning with a big old martini. But then I set them straight, and I tell them I'm talking about Martini Coffee Roasters coffee. A delicious coffee made by the Martini family. They roast their coffee using a traditional method of sight and sound to roast those little babies to perfection. And they also sell green coffee beans for those home roasters out there. And right now, fans of the Creep Street Podcast can get 20% off their entire order by using the code CREEPSTREET at martinicoffee.com. Once again, for 20% off your order, use the code CREEPSTREET at martinicoffee.com. Martini Coffee Roasters, the perfect coffee to keep you creeps caffeinated.
You've taken a wrong turn down Creep Street.
Citizens of the Milky Way, my name is Dylan Hackworth.
I'm Maureen Bogey.
And congratulations, you have landed in the Creep Street galaxy, folks.
That's right.
You have been orbiting a while. Well, guess what? You have just made first contact. We are here and we are ready to celebrate the holiday season with something absolutely terrifying. Of course, though, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Creep Street Podcast, Twitter at Creep Street Pod. We're also on TikTok. On our Facebook, we have a little forum where daily we like to interact with our listeners, post stories, funny memes, things like that. It's a little forum on Facebook called Citizens of the Milky Way, a Creep Street fan page. It's free to join. Anyone's welcome to join. Just click the Let Me In button and one of us will let you in.
That's right.
And of course, if once a week is not enough for you, and let's face it, we're your own personal Santa Claus, all right?
Yeah.
And we bring you goodies every month of the year.
That's right.
You just head on over to patreon.com/creepstreetpodcast for all sorts of goodies. We got 3 different tiers, just a little something for everybody. And in fact, we have a new Patreon subscriber, a new top tier Patreon subscriber.
Yes.
That we cannot wait to give a shout out at the end of the show. We had a new one last week, the monstrous Michaela Schur. Well, we've got a new one as well, and we're going to save that for the end, so stick around.
That's right. Thank you for being you.
Now, Maureen, as we know, it's about as deep into the holiday season as you can get.
Yeah, big time. Big time.
Right now, obviously, the Christmas season is in full swing, but it's Hanukkah, baby.
It's also the Hanukkah season, you know?
Yes, we are on night, I think it's either 4 or 5 right now of Hanukkah. It is going hot, going strong.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads us into this week's topic.
Yeah, big time. And our topic this week is going to be the Dybbuk.
Ooh, now this is freaky.
This is very freaky. Very interesting, though. And
Very
you know what? You know, we know that Christmas is, this weekend. We thought about doing some Christmas-related stuff. But we thought about it. We've done Krampus. We've done Gryla and the Yule Lads.
Yes, we have.
We've done some Christmas-specific content, or some Yule-specific content, at least, in the past. So you can check those out if you're needing a little bit of that extra shit.
That's right.
The little Christmasness.
If you need a little bit of holly for your jolly, just go back through the back catalog and the December episodes from the past few years. We have a lot of cool holiday-themed horrors for you.
Yes, and then we did elves in December as well. We touched on Christmas there. So we just kind of wanted to switch it up.
Absolutely.
And Dybbuks don't really have anything to do with Hanukkah per se.
Yes, I should have stated that. Yes.
But they are Jewish.
Yes, they come from Jewish folklore.
Yes. So there you go. So first, before we get too wet and wild here, I think it's important to read my sources.
Please do. And I'm happy to report that there's a lot of Zach Baggins.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of Zach Baggins in these sources.
Yeah, he is prevalent. He is coming in hot. But he's not the only one. We also have 2 YouTube videos. One is called What is a Dybbuk? From Stump the Rabbi. Then we have Judaism's Ancient Curse, the Dybbuk, from ILTV Israel News. Then we have a fantastic article called Finally, the Truth Behind the Haunted Dybbuk Box Can Be Revealed by Charles Moss at Input. Then we have Dybbuk, Spiritual Possession and Jewish Folklore by Jeff Belanger. And then we have a little bit of that Discovery Plus shit.
Oh, yeah, baby.
We've got My Horror Story, Season 1, Episode 15, Ghost Adventures Quarantine, Season 1, Episode 4, and Deadly Possessions, Season 1, Episode 1.
Yes.
So, Dylan and I both are not Jewish, so we cannot claim to be experts in this field.
Certainly not.
By any means.
Of course.
But we've done a lot of research, and we've, done a lot of reading and watching and listening, and, we're doing our best here to figure out what the ding-dong hell is going on.
Yes. And I'm assuming there's a lot of Hebrew words and stuff. Mm-hmm. So obviously, if we mispronounce anything, it's not, like we always say, it's not out of disrespect. There's just certain things we're not sure how to say.
Right.
And so we apologize beforehand.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's like, and also it's one of those things that kind of depending on who you ask, you'll get some different information.
Correct.
So it's like one person may think this, another person may think that. So just keep that in mind. Take everything with a grain of salt, all of that good stuff. And right off the bat, it's interesting to think about Dybbuks. Are they more Jewish folklore, more Jewish mysticism, or true kind of in the Jewish canon, as it were?
Exactly, right.
And it seems like it's kind of a little bit of everything, depending on who you ask. But Dybbuks often are referred to as demons.
Yeah.
Like a Jewish demon. And in my opinion, I think this is correct and incorrect at the same time.
Okay.
And maybe we'll answer these questions a little bit more as we go forward, and you can kind of make your own choices, your own opinions on the matter.
Yes.
But Dybbuks essentially are the spirit of a once living being that cleave on or cling on to a living person.
Interesting. So already not what you typically associate with a demon as once. Typically, we don't think of demons as being once living people.
Right. Like the demons are their own thing.
Yeah.
And ghosts don't possess anyone.
Right.
But this is kind of going against that a little bit. And not that a Dybbuk is a ghost, but it is a spirit that has died.
Interesting. Okay.
And this spirit wants to complete some kind of unfinished business. We've heard this many times before as well.
Absolutely.
Now, there is a rabbi named Rabbi Gershon Winkler, and he was interviewed for one of the articles that I used as my sources today. And we'll be quoting him as well as some other people a few different times in today's episode.
All right.
And this is what he has to say about the situation. Jews don't believe in demonic possession. We believe that, on very rare occasion, there can be a possession of a living person by the soul of one who has left the body, but not the world, and they're seeking a body to possess to finish whatever they need to finish.
Interesting. And
there are some excerpts from the Torah, aka the Old Testament. Old Testament. That do kind of align up with this a little bit. There is, in the book of Samuel 18:10, apparently a bad spirit is briefly described as attaching itself to King Saul, who was the first king elected chieftain of the ancient tribes of Israel. And it says, quote, "And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul."
Who take that as you will.
So there you go. And also, later on in the book of Kings, it says that the prophet Elijah was possessed by the spirit of a dead man who was trying to get the prophet to trick the king into going into war.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Rabbi Winkler says, quote, "You have stories like that just nonchalantly mention spirits of people who have left us coming down to effect some change, some phenomenon in this world."
That is very interesting, yeah.
But I believe that the word Dybbuk itself wasn't introduced until I think like the 15th century, I want to say.
Okay.
And is kind of more linked to Kabbalah, which is an ancient form of Jewish mysticism.
Right, yes. And like we said, we're condensing a lot into, we're oversimplifying things, obviously.
Big time.
But yes.
And the way that you can tell that someone has a Dybbuk or is possessed by a Dybbuk is kind of similar to how you would see if someone was possessed by a demon. I'm going to quote Rabbi Winkler here again. You can tell it is real if the person is capable of speaking things that they would not otherwise be capable of knowing, because the soul that's in them is not integrated with them enough to be subject to time, space, and matter. They would be able to tell you things you would ordinarily not know, like what you dreamed last night, what's happening across the street. Maybe they can even speak a separate language that they've never known before.
Okay.
So things like that we've heard before many times, where it's like things that don't quite line up, things that you shouldn't be able to know.
Absolutely.
You would know, all of that stuff. And apparently there is a kind of Jewish exorcism that you can use to free someone from a Dybbuk, but it is kind of different than the exorcisms that we may think of, like of a Christian exorcism.
Okay.
In at least the kind of exorcisms that Rabbi Winkler is talking about, there would be some prayer readings and blowing on a shofar, which is a ram's horn. And this is to shake the Dybbuk loose from the body. And once they do this, they are able to try to communicate with the Dybbuk. And it's kind of more of a way to heal both the person and the Dybbuk, kind of to move them over to the other side, rather than to just like cast out a demon.
Very interesting. So a more, a gentler form of exorcism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Kind of a little bit more of the emphasis on the healing.
Yeah, interesting.
Like in Christian exorcisms, you don't really try to fix the demon.
You're right.
You just try to get the demon out.
Exactly.
But since this is a living person who has unfinished business or has done X, Y, and Z, and that's why they're not able to move on out of this world, they may need help in figuring out what they gotta do.
Right, exactly.
But Dybbuks are usually considered to be negative or malicious, malevolent, if you will.
Right.
But there is a version of a kind of a positive version of this, where it's an Ibber, I believe is what you say, which is a kind of positive possession, maybe kind of similar to like a spirit guide or something like that, where someone comes and takes and possesses someone's body with their consent.
Interesting, okay.
And they either are helping you or helping you work on something or helping you overcome something, or maybe they are just using you for them to be able to perform a mitzvah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there you go.
Wow, okay, interesting. Mm-hmm. That is very fascinating.
So the idea of possession is a thing in the Jewish faith, whether that's the folklore, the true faith, the anything and everything in between.
Correct, right.
And it's kind of like some people are more in tune or aligned or are believing in it than other people are. Dybbuks aren't just like talked about all the time in shul or whatever.
Exactly, right,
yeah.
Right.
But some people do really abide by, the belief in Dybbuks and all
of course,
that.
Right.
So there have been stories of Dybbuks possessing people, for years and years and years and years. But the story or the idea of Dybbuks really, really popped off to the front in the early 2000s. All because of a little eBay post, a little item posted for sale on eBay, on Electronic Bay.
Good golly, god dang.
Now, Kevin Manus is a man that was living in Portland, Oregon in 2001. He said that he went to an estate sale in southwest Portland Hills, the home of a Holocaust survivor that had passed away. He said he won a whole box of things in an auction Like, he didn't even know everything that was in this case, in this box.
Right, yeah.
You kind of, because there was so much in the house that you would just bid on, like, a lot.
Right, exactly.
And when he opened his box and was going through it, he saw that there was a little wine cabinet with a lock on it. And he, felt like this wasn't in the right place or what have you. He just felt like he wasn't supposed to have it. Felt like it looked like a family heirloom or something.
Yeah.
So he brought it up to one of the granddaughters of the woman who had passed away and asked about it. And she said, "Oh, you got the Dybbuk box." And he was like, "Yeah, do you want it back?" And she was like, "No, you bought it. You want it. It's yours now." Like, got very kind of like visibly upset.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And he was like, weird vibes, but okay.
Okay. Weird flex, but okay.
Mm-hmm, exactly. So he takes this box, this wine cabinet, and he brings it down to his workshop. And he was able to open the box, he was able to, break the lock and open the box. And inside, he said he found 2 locks of hair, 2 dried rosebuds, 2 pennies from the 1920s, a silver goblet, and a stone that had the word shalom in Hebrew written on it. On the back of the cabinet was a prayer carved into the back of the cabinet.
Okay, a little ominous.
Mm-hmm. He just put some lemon oil on the box just to kind of give it a little bit of sheen. I don't know if you're supposed to do that, but apparently that's what he did. I don't know about, wood. But he put some lemon oil on it, didn't really think much of it, and just kind of went about his day. Later that day, he left his workshop, and 15 minutes later, he got a call from someone back at the shop, and they were freaking out, telling him that there was someone in the basement workshop breaking things, swearing, all of this stuff. And he tells her to call the police, but as he tells her to call the police, the phone goes dead.
Uh-oh.
When he arrives, there is a strong smell of cat urine in the basement.
Very interesting, okay.
The basement was torn apart, but there was nobody there. The lights were all broken out. There was heavy tools tossed across the room, and the box was sitting open. The wine cabinet, the Dybbuk box, was sitting open, even though he closed it before he left.
Interesting about the cat urine smell, not something we associate, you think more of like sulfur or something. Interesting.
Yeah, and apparently he said it was like so pungent, it was stinging his eyes.
Wow.
So, not long after that, he sold the box to an older couple. However, the next day, the box was outside the shop with a note on it saying that they couldn't keep it because there was an odd darkness to the box.
Oh boy.
So he didn't really think much of it, he just put it back up for sale. Why he didn't really think much of it after all of this happening, I don't know.
Yeah, seems like that would be consuming your thoughts.
But it wasn't. And that's all what else can you do? So it didn't sell for a while, and to the point where it was kind of getting annoying and just kind of in his store space and just kind of getting in the way. So he gave it to his brother, but his brother gave it back to him. And then he gave it to his sister, but then his sister gave it back to him.
Good golly.
They both said that it seemed to be broken and that it wouldn't stay shut.
Ah, okay.
He then decided to give it to his mom. He gave it to his mom. It was her birthday in October. Very nice. He gave it to her, and then he went into another room. I believe he went downstairs. This was at his workplace. Then a coworker came up to him and said, "Your mom isn't responding." So he ran back upstairs, and she was unresponsive. So he called 911, and it turns out she had a stroke.
Right after being gifted this thing. Wow.
She couldn't talk because of the stroke, but a little bit afterwards, she was able to point to letters on a board to communicate.
Right.
And she at first spelled out, "No gift, no gift." And Kevin was a little confused by this. And then she said, "Hate gift."
Right. He took it at first as like, "Oh, you didn't bring me a gift?"
And she was like, right. He was like, "I got you a damn box."
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, I hate the damn thing."
Yeah.
So then he took the box and put it inside his house. Why would you do that?
I have no idea.
It's just something I don't get. I just don't get it. But apparently that's what he did. He started having nightmares of walking around with someone he knew very, very well in a very serene place. But then when he would turn to look at them, he would realize that they were not the person he thought he was talking to. And then they would slowly morph into a gruesome, ugly hag that would then beat him up.
Very interesting.
And he would wake up with marks on his body.
Right.
He mentioned this to his brother and sister, and it turns out that his brother and sister both had dreams like this when they were in possession of the box. He went back to the old woman's granddaughters to ask them about what was going on, to get some more information about this box.
Right.
And they said that the box was always in their grandmother's sewing room, and that she would spit through her fingers 3 times and say that it was a Dybbuk box, that a Dybbuk was inside the box, and that it hadn't been opened until Kevin himself opened it once he bought it.
Yikes.
Then things kept getting worse and worse and worse. Kevin started being able to see floating orbs throughout the room. He was seeing black forms that were darker than the darkness, just floating around.
Oh boy.
And at a certain point, he was just desperate and didn't know what to do. He knew he needed to get rid of the box, but he didn't think destroying the box was really the right move.
Okay.
And decided to put it up for sale on eBay. He put it up for just 99 cents and sent it to a man in the Midwest. And apparently, as soon as he sent that Dybbuk box away, everything stopped. Everything went completely back to normal. But 7 months later, the man who bought it from him lost all of his hair, lost his job, his girlfriend, his car, and his place to live.
Yikes.
So then Kevin goes back to the family that originally sold him this Dybbuk box and went to one of Havla's cousins. Havla is the woman that had this Dybbuk box.
Okay.
And apparently said that they lived in one of the ghettos of Poland, and they would do seances to contact the other side. One of my sources said that they used this they wanted to contact some kind of entity from the other side to help them with the Nazis.
Oh, okay.
But maybe they were just doing a seance, I don't know.
Yeah, right, who knows?
And when they did, they realized that they had let forth something very evil.
Uh-oh.
And they believe that many of the evils that were committed during the 20th century were because of this Dybbuk, or because of this entity that had been released. So they did another ritual to entrap it. It ripped the entity into 10 pieces and put them in these boxes, these Dybbuk boxes, and wanted to spread them all over the world so that they would never be brought together again, because all evil would break loose if these boxes were opened near one another. Kevin says that 5 years later, he received one in the mail with no return address. And then he got sent more. And in total, he says now he has 6 boxes that have just been sent to him.
Good Lord. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't know from whom?
No.
Wow.
Now, this main Dybbuk box, the one that we were talking about with... The one that we've been talking about.
Right.
Kevin. It was eventually sold to a man named Jason Haxton, who was very passionate about this Dybbuk box and the whole Dybbuk box story and the phenomenon and the haunting around it.
Right.
But he sold it for an undisclosed amount to Zach Bagans.
That's right.
So it is now in Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum.
That's right.
That I believe is in Las Vegas.
Of course, Zach Bagans of Ghost Adventures fame.
Oh, yeah. But the story of the Dybbuk box has really affected a lot of people. There was a movie called The Possession that came out.
Yeah.
That is based on this.
I think I saw it. It had Jeffrey Dean Morgan in it. Yeah.
We actually mentioned it in our Cursed Movies or Cursed Film Sets 2 episode.
That's right.
Yes. Apparently, Jeffrey Dean Morgan was very much a skeptic in the paranormal before he started filming this movie, but left the movie being a believer in the paranormal. There was unexplained gusts of cold air on set or cold wind on set. A neon light randomly exploded, and 5 days after shooting, all the props, including the box, the replica box, was destroyed in a mysterious fire.
Oh boy.
So, as I said before, the box now is with Zach Bagans, you know, doing it. But that's not the end of the story. Jason Haxton had some thoughts on Kevin Manus, the guy who originally got the Dybbuk box and the man who had it after Kevin and sold it to Zach Bagans.
Oh, okay.
Because Kevin Manus and Jason Haxton were both consulting producers on the movie Fourth of Possession, all of this stuff. And Jason Haxton has this to say. I think Kevin was shocked because though he might have come up with the idea and the concept, he would have never gotten the book written. He never finishes anything. He would have never gotten the movie done. I get red carpet treatment and everything. I was with the stars, and he was the background noise, and it probably pissed him off. But that's the way it is.
Where did this come from?
I don't know.
Wow, okay.
Because Jason Haxton believes that Kevin Manus made the whole story up, and that Kevin Manus actually, after the fact, cursed the Dybbuk box by using Kabbalah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So he believes there is something paranormal to do with it, but he feels Kevin put it on this.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And he has this to say, Jason Haxton does. Did the con man get conned by God? That's seriously my take on it. Someone screwed around thinking it was funny and that they were in control. It's like playing with fire. It was funny until it wasn't. Regardless of whether he made it or not, it really doesn't even matter. It had to start somewhere, but something is in there, and it's bigger than Kevin. So...
Wow, I did not know about this.
Yes.
So there's some beef.
There's some beef. So the writer of this article from Input Magazine kind of confronts Kevin Manus about this, about like, hey, Jason Haxton thinks you made this up. And this is what Kevin Manus has to say. I am a creative writer. The Dybbuk box is a story that I created, and the Dybbuk box story has done exactly what I intended it to do when I posted it 20 years ago, which is to become an interactive horror story in real time. Kevin Manus then goes on to say that he did buy the wine cabinet at a yard sale, but it was from an attorney, not the granddaughter of a Holocaust survivor.
Weird. Okay.
The carving in the back was his carving. The stone on the box was a creation of his as well, and that he even came up with the name Dybbuk box. He said he wrote this creative story in order to sell it on eBay. He said that he channeled all of the negative energy in his life at the time into this box, though. He says, quote, "At the time I created the Dybbuk box, it was during Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. I created the box whilst praying and asking for forgiveness for all of the sins that I had committed, that I knew about, and perhaps even more important, the sins I had committed that I didn't know about."
So this is weird. I didn't know this.
Yeah.
So he admitted that he did make up the whole thing, but that there's still something attached to it, but something he put there.
Kevin says that it's just completely made up. He didn't put anything in there.
Really?
Yeah. He said that he focused all of the negative energy in his life into it, but that he didn't curse it or use Kabbalah or anything like that on it.
Wow.
And this is weird because Kevin went on so many ghost huntery type shows.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And just completely went along with this. His mother was on one of the shows in tears talking about this, about her stroke, how horrifying it was. And I know people lie all the time.
Yeah.
But it's such a weird lie to tell.
So weird.
Such a weird lie to just make $100 with an eBay sale. I mean, I guess that then he did end up making more money off of it from being a consultant on a movie.
Yeah.
And, all of this stuff. But it's just very strange. And maybe this was kind of he meant it to be kind of a creepypasta type thing that just really got out of hand. And
yeah.
I don't know, but he totally played a bunch of people. Or maybe he feels regret about this and about buying this item and is just in denial. I think it's super fucked up to make up this whole lie about a Holocaust
That's
survivor.
fucked up, especially. Yeah, to use that, something very real and very awful, to you know what I mean? That's pretty nasty. It's so weird because even Post Malone
Yes.
had a run-in with this thing.
With this Dybbuk box. Yes, this exact Dybbuk box, not just like some other box that someone claims to be a Dybbuk box. It's this same one we're talking about. He went to hang out with Zach Bagans. Apparently they're friends. Of course they are. No one's surprised by this news. And Zach Bagans touched the Dybbuk box, and then Post Malone touched Zach Bagans. And they thought this alone was enough to cause just a bunch of shit hitting the fan in Post Malone's life.
Yeah.
He was nearly in a plane crash. He was in a terrible car accident, and his house was broken into, or nearly broken into.
Wow.
After this encounter with the Dybbuk box, and he is a big believer of this Dybbuk box. Now, once the author of the article that I'm referencing here from Input let Jason Haxton know that Kevin Manus admitted that he made all of this up and that he didn't use Kabbalah or anything like that to curse the item. I don't know if curse is the right word, but even though Kevin Manus says he is Jewish and also practices Kabbalah, so there you go, I don't know.
Right.
Jason Haxton still believes that the item is for sure haunted or possessed or cursed or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
He says, I always call it a wish box. Whoever created the Dybbuk box gave it a power to do something. The creation of the Dybbuk box and its story created a ripple effect in people's lives. The sum of the Dybbuk box is greater than he ever imagined. And the author of this article tried to reach out to Zach Bagans about it. And at first, a spokesperson from Zach Bagans was like, we're not going to talk about this, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, well, Kevin Manus told me that he made all of this up. And then Zach Bagans gets interested and starts, replying. And apparently Zach was not happy with Kevin Manus.
Oh, I'm sure.
But since Zach Bagans found out and confronted Kevin Manus says that his car broke down, his girlfriend left him, 2 of his friends passed away. He said all sorts of terrible things have happened since then.
Since he was confronted about it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
But do we trust this guy?
Yeah, I know, right?
But even though all of this stuff was happening, Kevin Manus kept saying that this was still a fictional story. But this is what Zach Bagans has to say.
Okay, let's hear it.
Since owning the Dybbuk box, there have been countless documented experiences people have had with it. Not just myself, but from my museum staff, my fellow crew members, visitors, and most notably, Post Malone. And then he even says that there have been guests that needed to be carried out by EMT personnel on a stretcher when they're in the presence of this Dybbuk box.
Wow.
He says, I think there is so much more to the Dybbuk box, and regardless of its origins, it is very much cursed and evil. I'm not surprised that more controversy and conflict keep arising from it. The Dybbuk box has always raised questions. There's more to this powerful cursed item. Its story is still being told.
Very, very freaky, Maureen. It's weird because we know this guy's a liar now.
Right, or probably a liar.
So weird.
It is interesting that a Dybbuk box, nothing is called a Dybbuk box until Kevin Manus calls one.
Right,
Like,
right.
Dybbuks attach themselves to living beings, not objects.
Exactly, right.
So I don't know why they would be able to be held in a box and all of this stuff. It is interesting where it doesn't quite match up. So maybe the Dybbuk box never was a Dybbuk box per se, but since so much of this energy has been put into the item, it's kind of like
right.
a tulpa.
That's the other thing.
It's become one.
I had thought about earlier was like a tulpa, like maybe it has the communal belief in this thing has created some sort of a thought form that has attached itself to it.
Right, absolutely. And there are so many great movies and things like that out there about Dybbuks or about things like this. I do recommend you check out these ghost hunter type shows about the Dybbuk box. It's very interesting. There's also a fantastic movie called Demon. It's a Polish movie.
Yes.
And it really goes off of the Dybbuk story. And because a lot of Dybbuks are connected to weddings.
Yeah.
Usually with the bride of a wedding being possessed by a male Dybbuk. And this is kind of the opposite, where it's the groom being possessed by a female Dybbuk. It is an amazing, amazing movie. Incredible. I highly recommend you watch it.
It's absolutely incredible, and the performance by the lead actor is one of the greatest I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah. Well, Maureen, let's cleanse the palate here.
Okay.
With the names of our top-tier Patreon subscribers.
Okay.
And our newcomer. Give it on up, folks, for the Dream James Watkins, the Finnish Face via Lungfist, the Madman Marcus Hall, the Vivacious Vicky McHugh, the Tenacious Teresa Hackworth, the Heartbreak Kid Chris Hackworth, the Oh-So-Suave Sean Richardson, the British Bone Breaker Bex Martin, the Notorious Nicholas Barker, the Terrifying Taylor Lashmet, the Count of Cool Cameron Corliss, the Archduke of Attitude Adam Archer, the Sinister Sam Kiker, the Nightmare of New Zealand Noeline Vavilli, the Loathsome Johnny Love, the Carnivorous Kevin Bogey, the Killer Stud Carl Staub, the Firestarter Heather Carter, the Conqueror Christopher Damian Damaris, the Awfully Awesome Annie, the Murderous Maggie Leach, the Sir of Sexy Sam Hackworth, the Evil Elizabeth Riley, Lauren Hellfire Hernandez Lopez, the Maniacal Laura Maynard, the Vicious Karen Van Buren, the Arch Nemesis Aaron Bird, the Sadistic Sergio Castillo, the Rapscallion Ryan Crum, the Beast Benjamin Huang, the Devilish Chris Doucette, the Psycho Sam, the Electric Emily Jeong, the Ghoulish Gerd Hankum, the Renegade Corey Ramos, the Crazed Carlos, the Antagonist Andrew Park, the Monstrous Michaela Schur, and the newcomer. Give it on up for the Witchy Wonder, J.P. Weimer.
Thank you so much, JP. We are so happy to have you. Thank you for being the newest member of the Creep Street Homeowners Association. We're so happy to have you with us.
Absolutely. And if you want to be like JP and the rest of the gang, go on over to patreon.com/creepstreetpodcast for all sorts of goodies. Of course, like, rate, subscribe, give us a thumbs up or 5 stars on whatever you listen to us on. It truly helps us out. And folks, from the bottom of our hearts, the happiest of holidays, no matter what you celebrate.
Absolutely.
We have you in our hearts, and you are what makes Creep Street so wonderful. And enjoy yourselves, and enjoy your families, and enjoy your time.
Please do.
Citizens of the Milky Way, my name is Dylan Hackworth.
I'm Maureen Bogey.
Good night, and goodbye.
Goodbye.